Hello and welcome to the big interview. Today, we're joined by one of the most talked about leaders on the African continent, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the president of Burkina Faso. Rising to power with a bold vision for sovereignty, unity and self-reliance, President Traoré has become a central figure in the fight against imperialism and external influence in West Africa. In this rare and candid interview, he doesn't hold back, sharply criticizing France's paternalistic attitude toward Africa and exposing what he describes as the United States' silent complicity in fueling insecurity through covert support to terrorist networks in the Sahel, from deepening ties with Russia and pushing for agricultural and industrial reform at home, to leading the charge for a new, independent African bloc through the AES Confederation. President Traoré shares his vision for a new Africa, free from exploitation and misinformation. Stay tuned.
This is the journey to one Africa.
Hello and welcome to the big interview. Our guest today is the President of Burkina Faso, Captain Ibrahim Traoré. Your Excellency, hello and thank you very much for accepting our invitation. It is a great honor to have you on our set. Yesterday, you attended the May 9th parade. What are your impressions? Hello, thank you. We are here in Russia to commemorate the 80th anniversary of the victory over Nazism. And, as you said, yesterday we attended the ceremony, a parade and a ceremony on the grave of Gérard Blanc on the Tombe du Soleil. I think it is very symbolic. We have learned a lot during this stay. It is not just a celebration, but a celebration of the victory of a new world. So it makes a lot of sense to us. What do you think of the quality of the parade? Yes, as I said, it was perfect. Perfect, and it taught us a lot of things. When we do the parade, the engines that won the war, the T-34s and even the modern engines, it shows us the technological evolution of the Russian army. And it also inspires us to put ourselves to work to be able to develop in the same way. Were there any things that surprised you, for example? We are always surprised when we see technological progress. And recently, I think there is a new weapon that appeared in the Russian military arsenal, the Orychnik, which we were able to see pass. And I think that is very significant. What is the significance of your presence as head of state in Africa? Because we know that Africans have made their contribution to the victory of the Allies in World War II. Of course, as I said, the Africans and the Soviet soldiers have contributed a lot to freeing the world from Nazism. And if the world was not free from Nazism, we do not know what it would become. Following the events, I saw that Russia lost 1 million soldiers on European soil while fighting. Africa also gave. Our ancestors fought a lot in European theaters, mainly in France, Belgium, Italy, to free the world from Nazism. So, it's a shared story that we share. How did the meeting with the Russian president go? So for the moment, we had brief meetings, and in a while, we will have a long interview. But how would you describe the current state of bilateral relations? Relations are going very well. I can say that for 2 years now, relations have started very well, and we are in the process of deepening the areas of defense and security, but also the areas of education, and later the areas of cooperation. So we have scaled up the different areas so that we can exchange a lot, share a lot of experience, because we also have a lot to learn about Russia's education, especially in science. Especially in science, but in which areas in particular? Yes, there are many areas in science, whether mathematics, physics, chemistry. These are areas that interest us a lot, both in the development of our military industry, but also in the commercial development of our country, the economic development of our country. So these are areas that we will seek to deepen, to be able to better structure us. And do you think there is a demand in Burkina for Russian education? Of course, there are many Burkina students already here in Russia, in universities. I met some this morning, and I even asked to increase the number of students here, whether through Russian scholarships or Burkina, which will pay scholarships for its students to come. But the goal for us is to set up universities similar to Burkina. And since there is already the House of Russia, it will allow us to go very quickly. By the way, you just mentioned it. In January, you visited the University of Russia. How did this visit go? It went very well. I had fluctuating exchanges with the Minister of Education of Russia, with the rectors and students, and especially the students of the US who study at this university. And we had very good exchanges. And we talked a lot in a scientific way. Let's talk a little bit about the economy. The volume of trade exchanges has increased tenfold in a year. But on the other hand, these figures are not up to the political dialogue. How do you explain this paradox? And above all, how do you boost these links in the field of trade? As I said, it's a new relationship that's starting. You know that with Russia. Why new? Excuse me? Yes, it's starting again. Since the years after the death, unfortunately, of Sankara, relations with Russia have deteriorated a lot, and now we are in the process of reviving the relations. The embassy has been set up, and trade relations are also at the heart of the exchanges. There are a number of products, for example, Burkina, which used to pass through certain European countries before being sold to Russia. Today, these products are directly sold through Burkina operators and Russian operators. I'm talking about mangoes, for example. Mangoes used to pass through European countries to be sold to Russia. Today, it happens directly. There is cotton, which will follow. There are many other products, sesame and many other agricultural products, that we can exchange directly with Russia. So, it's just starting. It's going to grow. Absolutely. In fact, economic forecasts indicate a growth of 5.6% in 2025. So, what are the key sectors that support this growth? So, it must be said that until today, Burkina Faso is the first export product. But we have launched the agricultural engine for self-sufficiency, but also for foreign trade and export. If you remember well, last year, we launched the agricultural offensive with an initiative that supports the offensive. The goal is to be able to significantly increase our agricultural production, self-sufficiency, but also there are rental products that fail, therefore sold abroad. And all this must be able to support this growth, and we hope to be well above these figures. But how do these reforms actually work? There are many things. These are difficult reforms. It must be recognized because there is a system that has been installed. But it's not impossible. Already, when you look at our cereal production, we had a very good growth in 2024. In 2025, we hope to do even better. And these are quite courageous reforms. When you take, for example, I still stay in agriculture. We have, for example, decided, through the initiative of the offensive, to work the fields of our peasants for free. So last year, we did it. This year, if God permits, there are still a good number of tractors that we have acquired that we will put at the disposal of mechanized cells in the different departments to increase the surface area. We are maximizing a lot in the management of water through a structure that we have created far below to control the water and be able to produce at least 2 or 3 times a year. Because if we only depend on rain, it would be difficult. So there is this sector, the mining sector too, that we will continue to boost so that the country itself can exploit its own resources. So we started to acquire mines. There are a lot of permits that are there that we are developing. Our engineers can develop the necessary machines so that we can exploit our own resources. So if we take advantage of these 2 sectors, and complete with industrialization, that is to say, the transformation of our products on site, which will prevent us from exporting raw materials, it will lead us to a very good growth. So these are the reforms that are underway: agriculture, industry, and many other sectors. Do you think that Russia can provide its support for the implementation of these reforms? Of course. Of course. A lot of support. Just technical and professional training is already a very good thing. If we pay for industries, we need people who will entertain them and make them work. And Russia helps us in this regard. That's why I said that we have a very good cooperation with the Ministry of Education. They will allow us to train technicians, engineers, who must be able to entertain everything we do, but create our own industrial units. So that's very important to us. And in trade too, as I said right away, with Russia, it's going very well. There is no reason why we cannot deepen all this. Let's talk a little bit about security. What is the current security situation in your country and in the region? Yes, in the region, as you know, the security situation, in any case, we are trying to evolve on the battlefield. That's the first thing, because there are several factors that come into play. On the battlefield, there is evolution. If we take 2023 today, we were able to recover a lot of areas that we were able to pacify. However, the enemy is also strengthening. There are many foreign fighters who join the terrorist rendezvous. Can you specify what you are talking about? Yes, the terrorists are reinforced by many foreign fighters. When I take the case of Burkina Faso, there are many criminals who are in Burkina Faso, but who are not in Burkina Faso. There are also trainers who come from many countries to teach them many techniques. But what is their interest? It's not terrorism, it's imperialism. The objective for them is to keep us in a permanent war, so that we cannot develop and continue to gain our resources. So they have every interest in bringing specialists into the mines, to plant a variety of mines, explosive specialists. Today, terrorists use drones to fight. So they are professionals from certain countries who come to teach them all this. All this is to continue to keep us in a situation of insecurity. But we take the measure of the situation, we adapt to their words of action. And we will continue the fight until we recover the entirety of the Sahel. Are there concrete countries that finance these fighters? All imperialist countries finance these fighters. There are many. We cannot name them individually. There are some that are even hidden, that we cannot imagine. But there are many. There are those who are not hidden, who declare it openly. I am talking about the recent scandal with the support of terrorism in Mali. What is your view on what happened in Mali? Yes, it is unfortunate that they declared it openly, that they support terrorists. We have also been able to notice, with a certain number of technologies that terrorists have been able to have, that it comes from them. It's unfortunate. It's very unfortunate. But it is always the case that we do not feel sorry for our fate. We no longer have the measure of the situation. We are going to adapt, we are going to fight, and we will not be able to win. That is the most important thing for us. How is the humanitarian cooperation between Burkina Faso and Russia progressing? It is progressing very well. I think there is a lot of exchange on a lot of issues. When I take the field of health, because we always have displaced people who are there. And when we say displaced, it means that there are often complicated health situations. And I think the health services are cooperating well to be able to support the humanitarian services to be able to move forward. And you followed in 2023. I think Russia made a donation of wheat to Burkina Faso. It was only intended for displaced people. But we made the promise to President Putin that we no longer want to be refueled with wheat, because we are going to produce wheat. And I keep that promise because we have started to produce our wheat in quantity to satisfy. So that means that cooperation on this issue brings us to develop ourselves, to boost a lot of things, to be able to fill the gaps. Faced with the current geopolitical tensions, in particular the territorial war between the United States and China, how does Burkina Faso adapt its economic and diplomatic strategy? So this world is in perpetual mutation. It's madness. Often the changes we see, we have to stay alert and be able to adapt at all times. And that is very important, because we are following the news. There is an economic battle everywhere. But a priori, we trade with China without any problem. We buy a lot of things from China, and China also buys a lot of things from us. There are Chinese companies that settle in our country, despite the fact that people are trying to emigrate to Burkina Faso. It's the same with Russia right now. So all the countries that are fighting today for their economic independence, we try to collaborate better with these countries, because it is a form of oppression of imperialism. There is a place where those who are oppressed unite to face this monolithic region. So, a priori, we adapt to this whole situation. Mr. President, what are your views on the recent deterioration of relations with Algeria? So you followed the events, and I think everyone understands how it works. We are sorry to see the incident that happened at the Algerian border. With the drone, they shot down. It must be said clearly, it is not friendly. It's not friendly because we don't shoot down a flying machine like that, when everyone knows the protocol. So there is no face-to-face. If a drone crosses our border, even if it enters your country, we identify it. The radars allow us to identify it. And we know which country it belongs to. And there are diplomatic relations for that. We contact the embassy. There are defense attachments. There are many mechanisms. We contact them, and they can confirm whether it is their drone or not. If it is on the territory, maybe it needs help, or it has lost its orientation, because a drone can be in the air. It can have problems with the weather. It is forced to hide behind the clouds. It happens very often in our countries. So a drone comes in, we ask them, they say no. There is a lot of cloud cover, but there is a meteorological phenomenon that leads it to pass. It can have a technical problem, it can ask for help to guide it to where it lands. So there are so many factors that can make a drone end up in an airspace. We do not drop a drone systematically. The case happened to us. We have often seen an American drone that entered our territory, that made reconnaissance and everything. We did not drop the drone, we took care to contact the American embassy. They took a few minutes. They confirmed that it was their drone, and they cleared the space. So we do not drop a drone systematically. It is an unfriendly act to drop the drone, and it is regrettable. But if I understand correctly, you do not close the door to dialogue. No, the leaders must understand that we have no choice but to unite against this so-called terrorism situation, because it is a rather complex phenomenon. I tell you that Burkina was also in the years 2012 to look at Mali. The regime that was in place was friendly with these people. Some even lived in Ouagadougou. Yaga lived in Ouagadougou. This is the reality. But what happened today? They turned against us. They are not free people. They are manipulated by the imperialists. And the orders we give them, they give them to their criminals on the ground. So everyone must understand that we must unite to face it. There is no possible negotiation with these people. Precisely, let's talk about this unity, rather this integration that is currently taking place within the AES. Where are we currently? It's going well, it's evolving. We are therefore in the Confederation, and as I said, there are a lot of things to put in place, and we must not try to go so fast and not do well. So we are going in a progressive way. There are a lot of structures to put in place, there are a lot of areas to level in the three countries. Because you are not without knowing that from an economic point of view, we are not at the same level. From a military point of view, there are a lot of areas. We must try to balance. And so it requires the implementation of a lot of structures, a lot of meetings. And free movement requires a certain number of parameters to put together. You must have seen that we have done a lot of work to achieve a unique document of security for travel and everything. So it's evolving. So, it's going very well. Precisely, I had a question on the economic aspect. Is the creation of the currency specific to the AES still up to date? Yes, it's up to date, inevitably. And so the process continues. There are a lot of things, as I would say, a lot of bills to settle before they arrive. But it's inevitably up to date. If we talk about sovereignty, inevitably we need that sovereignty. So, it's imperative. Can we expect the expansion of the AES? Yes, in the future. But for the moment, as I said, we have to harmonize a lot of things ourselves, put the foundations in place. Because there will be a lot of additional protocols, if you want to see, to harmonize our policies. Whether it's diplomatic, economic policies, there are a lot of policies to harmonize before allowing someone to join. But are there already countries that are interested in your format? Yes, countries are interested. They could be interested. I don't know. For now, the president of the Federation is the president Malian. He can give an opinion on the issue. But there are countries that are interested, yes. How do you explain the decrease in French influence in the region? Not only in the Sahel, but also in West Africa, for example. I think they themselves have contributed to lowering their influence, because they have a paternalistic conception. That's it. Of our relations. You see, when you take all the advice right away, everything we take as an initiative, well, it's Russia. When someone speaks, they are influenced by Russia. Everything that happened in Russia. Why do they have their eyes closed like that? So the African is not able to develop something. The African is not able to invent, to innovate, to take initiatives. That's what we're fighting for. And as long as they continue to see the African like that, as a subhuman being who is not able to reflect, who is not able to innovate, who is not able to invent, we will never be able to be friends. Times have changed, so it's the very vision they have of the black. They have to stop that. Because by treating us like that, it's as if they see the black as a subhuman being, and that's dangerous. They have to change their language. But how do you see this attitude? Look at their speech. Look at their speech. Even the French president, always in his speech, young Africans are influenced by Russia. He says, Western media. You listen to them often, they only spend their time lying. And look today, the IAS, which is a model that is being drawn, they can't get up from morning to night without talking about Burkina or the IAS. It's impossible for them. And every time they try to send information, to divide, to manipulate the youth. But it doesn't work anymore. I think people are quite aware. People have seen it. And you are victims of these people. The communication, what they say about Russia and everything. We know it. To this day, there are young Africans whose eyes are always closed. They believe their lies. The story of the Second World War. I was listening the last time. Someone said that at the end of the war, in the 10 years that followed, if you asked in Europe who won the war, people would say it was Russia. But today, if you ask in Europe who won the war, they will say it was the West. Through communication, they managed to reverse history. And African history too. They did everything they could to make the lies go away. And that means that young Africans, some don't even know the history of Africa. What did Africa do? Some don't even know that our grandparents fought, were put forward like cannon fodder, and when they came back, they were killed like animals. Do people know that when France experienced its first atomic bomb, it was black soldiers who were put aside in the state area to see the effect it had? Let's get out of the archives. Everything they used against Africa, it's terrible. So there's all that needs to be communicated so that young Africans understand, because there are many still asleep who continue to communicate for the imperialists. Those who tell them to say it, they do it. Maybe because they give them something, I don't know. But Africans must understand their history. So that's our fight too. What is the role of the media in this fight, in your opinion? Independent media? From us, you mean? The media should participate a lot to help us, but you see that there are certain media that are imperialist media. They are so that when the European media say something, they take it back and accentuate it. There are plenty of media in our country that even fight regimes like our regime. They also spend their time telling the same nonsense that Western media tells. But it's shameful. If Africans behave like that, it's very shameful. I imagine they must be ashamed to look at each other in the eye in the evening. If you are paid to tell lies about black people, it's very serious. So, we are raising awareness in Burkina Faso. As you can see, many media support the dynamic, participate in raising awareness of youth through debates. That's what we really want for the media. Gain. Do you think our media can also play a role in this fight? Of course, a lot. We must play a very important role. You know, I said it in 2023 in St. Petersburg, and I repeat it again today. Russia has helped save the world. Africa has helped save the world. We must say it. Young people must understand that everything that is told in Hollywood movies is false. It's just a lie. It's the same thing as the Vietnam War. Today, we see that the story is wrong. But we must communicate. As you can see, they don't like me talking. They think I talk too much to silence me, so that they can speak and let their version pass. No, my biggest regret is that I spent a lot of my youth listening to radio stations like RFI, France 24. I've been to countries where their radio stations were closed, but we took applications, we registered their newspapers to listen. But at some point, there was a click, and I began to understand that they were conditioning our brains to accept what they wanted. It's their narrative that they want us to learn. And since then, I've been doing a lot of things, and I've understood that what they do is very dangerous. And today, more than ever, I realize that they have conditioned the mind, especially of Africans. So you can participate a lot to awaken the consciousness of the youth so that people understand how the world works and don't get carried away by these people. My very last question, just to conclude on a positive note, what are the prospects for relations between Russia and Burkina Faso Solongo? A lot of prospects for the future. And as I said with the parade I saw, I think there is a very good cooperation because we are currently paying for materials, but we have to develop the military industry, for example, and Russia can contribute a lot. You know that in Russia there are a lot of scientists who are rich. We just heard the proof at the University of Mendeleev. They can help us a lot in training to also prevail. Because we have young talents, geniuses who manage to create things, but they lack the mathematical input, the science to be able to improve what they do. So Russia can help us a lot in this area. It will help us in the military sector, in the industrial sector, because it is the machines that make the world work. And today, the technology that it has, whether it is IT, networks, telecommunications, and everything, in this area, Russia is collaborating a lot. So in the future, all these prospects will be put on the agenda so that we can achieve a certain goal that we want. Your Excellency, thank you very much for this very interesting and very enriching exchange. I remind you that it was the President of Burkina Faso, Captain Ibrahim Traoré. Thank you.
Surtout des Africains. Donc vous pouvez participer beaucoup à éveiller les consciences de la jeunesse pour que les gens comprennent comment fonctionne le monde et ne pas se laisser embarquer par ces gens-là.
Ma toute dernière question, juste pour conclure sur une note positive, quelles sont les perspectives des relations entre la Russie et le Burkina Faso selon vous?
Beaucoup de perspectives à venir. Et comme je l'ai dit, avec la parade que j'ai vue, je pense qu'il y a une très bonne coopération. Parce que c'est bien, actuellement nous payons du matériel, mais il faut qu'on développe l'industrie militaire par exemple. Et la Russie peut contribuer beaucoup. Et vous savez que la Russie, il y a beaucoup de scientifiques, de savants qui sont russes. La preuve, on vient de quitter dans l'université de Mendeleev. Ils peuvent nous accompagner beaucoup dans la formation pour aussi prévaloir, parce que chez nous, nous avons des jeunes talents, des génies qui arrivent à créer des choses, mais il leur manque l'apport mathématique, la science pour pouvoir améliorer ce qu'ils font. Et donc la Russie peut nous aider beaucoup dans ce domaine. Ça va nous aider sur le volet militaire, sur le volet industriel, parce que ce sont les machines qui font marcher le monde. Et aujourd'hui, la technologie qui est là, que ce soit l'informatique et les réseaux, la télécommunication et tout, sur ce volet, la Russie est en train de beaucoup collaborer. Donc à l'avenir, toutes ces perspectives sont donc mises à l'ordre du jour pour que nous puissions donc voilà, arriver à un objectif certain que nous souhaitons.
Votre Excellence, merci beaucoup pour cet échange très intéressant et très enrichissant. Je rappelle, c'était le président...